All right, I renumbered this next section of sections of the business plan. It says, this number one, this section of your business plan demonstrates your industry and market knowledge along with your research findings and conclusions. This is called the market analysis. So this is where I've asked you again to go through those demographics, psychographics, and geographics and research it. And maybe you've done some surveys, and here's why you know this is what the market is interested in. You know your competitors. There's another thing we call a SWOT analysis we don't talk about in this particular class. But you know your strengths and your weaknesses in the market. You know your opportunities and your threats in the market. But you've really come to know that persona. And then there's the industry description and outlook. Describe your industry, including its current size and historic growth rate, as well as other trends. We're saying your industry. Are you in the automobile industry? Are you in the skateboard industry? Are you in the clothing industry? Are you in the hair products industry? Are you in a service industry? What kind of service do you provide? Right now I've got father-in-law, actually my parents and my father-in-law are both aging at the age of about 90, and the health care services and the assisted living center services are very much on my mind. So I could say with the assisted living centers, what is the current growth rate of that? Well, they're actually booming. And what does it cost, and what is the opportunity in the healthcare or in the assisted living center industry, because all these baby boomers are now hitting the market. But describe yours. Describe your industry. So this is information about your target market. Basically what we just said at the beginning of this section. List a condensed version of your research and findings. Demonstrate how and why you know your target market. So if I were to grill you to find out, really, do you really know? I'm putting your feet to the fire and I'm saying, okay, you got to tell me everything you know about your target market. Do you know it? Do you know it inside and out? And a lot of times during this research, you come to understand that, my product doesn't really fit that target market. Girls no longer like red and white flowers. They like blue and yellow pansies. I don't know. But let's just say that you learn more about your target market. At least that helps you know whether you're going to go forward or change your plan or just stop and do something else altogether. But when you feel like you've really got your target market figured out and your product or service fills their need, then you should be able to explain this, demonstrate it, and really defend it. Number 4, distinguishing characteristics. What are the critical needs of your potential customers? It's just what we said. I like the word critical in there. What are the critical needs of your potential customers? We had talked about the coronavirus and how all of a sudden everyone decided their critical need was toilet paper. The funny thing was I had actually looked at a toilet paper business. I digress for a second here. I thought a mail order toilet paper business that conveniently brought to you exactly the toilet paper that you like at the right price would be, because everyone buys toilet paper. I thought it would be a pretty good idea. And I found someone who had already tried the idea and told me the problems behind it, so I didn't go forward with it. Yeah, but me and another guy, we thought, okay, let's have 4 products of toilet paper and they can choose one of those, and then they are brought to your door, cutting out the middleman direct from the manufacturer, the eco-friendly version, the scented version, the soft, cushy version, whatever. So, in this particular case, my distinguishing characteristic was going to be that the toilet paper is shipped to your door. And the critical need was that everybody needs toilet paper a few times a day. Demonstrate why your product or service is uniquely positioned to succeed. That same old word, unique. That's kind of the buzzword. You can, again, be not so unique and just have a product that everybody wants, and frankly, toilet paper is just toilet paper to a lot of people. Not to most housewives, though, but to just a lot of people like teenagers, it's just toilet paper, we don't care. But now you say you're going to be the low-cost leader. You're going to be the cheapest toilet paper. Everyone else is selling a roll of toilet paper for 50 cents, and you're selling it for $0.25. Then guess who's going to win? But playing the low-cost leader, by the way, isn't necessarily that you're always positioned to succeed, because it's very likely that your profit margins aren't that great. And when something comes along that kind of puts a hit on you, you don't have a lot of cushion in that price and in that profit margin, so that you can't necessarily weather the storm. It's also so commonplace to just try to beat the other guy in low price. There's not a lot of fun in that. Try to come up with something that has a better advantage. What was it called again? A more distinguishing characteristic. You might sense in me that I'm always interested in the idea. I enjoy a good business plan with a good idea. I like the scheming of how do we develop this idea and how do we take it to market. And so that's kind of where I actually get my joy of entrepreneurship. Others may have a completely different outlook on it. I know some people that are just about the money. That is it. They are nothing but what we call bean counters, and they get their joy literally by seeing how much profit margin they can get and how often that wheel spins, and just every penny matters to them. We were able to shave our costs on manufacturing that paper rose, we'll say, by 1/2 of a penny, 0.05, and we were able to shave our cost. And because of that, because we sell 1,000 of these a day, we're going to profit, actually I can't do the math, but I'm going to say we're going to profit another $60 a month. And they just love that. I like the ideas. So number 5, size up the primary target market. What data indicates the annual purchases your market makes in your industry? Again, you're just talking about your target market. Let's go to the clothing industry. Again, most housewives make most of the clothing purchases for their homes. So if you say we're kind of targeting the moms of the house, then you say, all right, what annual purchases are moms making, and what is the forecasted market growth for this group? Now, if we can have a little bit of fun here, let's specifically target women's shoes. Who thinks women's shoes are a big market? Do women ever buy shoes? I think I'll let you just decide. Yeah. How many they buy? I'll let you decide. What kind of shoes do they want? I'll let you decide. But that's what you want to do with your product. Figure it out based on the primary target market. What motivates those guys? Okay, down the bottom, how much market share can you gain? What is the market share percentage and number of customers you expect to obtain, and why? Let's go back to the swigs or fizzes, the soda pop stations. We have 2 that I know of in Spanish Fork. Is there room for another? And how much of the market share can you get? The one that used to be Johnny's and the one that's up by the Domino Pizza at the top of Center Street. Sure seems like there's one I'm missing. You guys would probably know it. We'll say that there's 3 already in Spanish Fork, and there's approximately 40,000 people that live in Spanish Fork, but in that area where you would reach your consumers, there's probably about 60,000 people. So, are 3 soda stations, drive-up soda stations, already saturating the 60,000 person market? Or, let's say that they all split it up evenly, right? So 20,000 go to this geographic area, 20,000 here, 20,000 here. Is there a location that is not being satisfied? And if you took your soda station and put it in there, can you get some of the market share of this one and this one? Can you end up with 25% of the market share? And is that good enough to, to sustain the business and grow it? So it says figure out what your market share could be and explain why. Number 7, pricing and gross margin targets. Define your pricing structure, your gross margin levels, and any discount that you can plan to use. Let's watch a little video that explains more on that.
Gross margin is generally quoted as a percentage of the company's sales. Just take revenue generated for a given period, subtract the production expenses, otherwise known as the cost of goods sold, and divide this entire figure by revenue. Let's take a look at Rose Candy Company. The company earns annual revenue of $1 million and has a cost of goods sold totaling $700,000. This gives the company a gross margin of 30%. This means that Rose Candy retains 30 cents from each dollar of total revenue made. Say that Rose Candy's main competitor, Lily Chocolate, enjoys a margin of close to 40%. This could mean that Lily Chocolate has lower input costs, such as raw materials and wages for its factory workers. It could also mean that Lily Chocolate gets away with selling at higher prices by offering specialty items. In either case, Rose Candy will likely want to adjust its strategy to remain competitive in the long run.
All right, and then it comes back and says, any discount that you plan to use. Do you guys ever try to buy things at a discount, and how do you do that? So I'm going to use the magic word in Utah, coupons. Lots of families, lots of housewives will clip a coupon, and then they can stretch their dollar a little bit further. I know some people that don't like to use coupons. I guess it makes them feel cheap. Competitive analysis. Creating a niche for your business, some people pronounce it niche. Creating a niche for your business is essential. Assess the characteristics of the competitive landscape. What is your competitive advantage? And again, I know a lot of people, especially in marketing, boy, do they just fixate on that word niche. What niche do you have? Let's go to skateboards here. So there's a lot of skateboards, but do you make them custom? Are you a custom designer of skateboards? Is your niche that you use gold plating, like maybe around the edges of the board, so it doesn't get scuffed up as easy? And therefore, I should say your niche is your unique proposition that you've got gold plating around it. Then your niche would be just the high-end skateboarders, the ones that have the money, that really want to be cool, that want to be beat up by a gang and robbed of their skateboard. That'd probably be what would happen, right? But there's a lot of different ways to look at any industry and say what niche is not being fulfilled. I actually remember being in a meeting when someone was talking about a particular kind of underwear. And I thought, well, you have found a unique niche there. And he insisted that there's a lot of search volume on Google for this particular kind of underwear, but there are no manufacturers of it, and there's only things that kind of come close. I went, okay, still not interested, but yep, you found a niche. Okay, your investors or board of directors also want to know, where are the catches? Again, in that SWOT analysis that for some reason we don't talk about, the SWOT analysis, they want to know your weaknesses or your risks or your threats. And this is one of them. Regulatory restrictions. Include any customer or governmental regulatory requirements affecting your business and how you'll comply. We talked about how the government can get into your life. You need to know that. Let's say that yours is, again, a digestible, consumable product. So the FDA gets into your life, the Food and Drug Administration. And let's say it's a protein candy bar, an energy bar, all right? A lot of people like those, and maybe you're one of them that says they just need more flavors. So you're coming up with the kind of flavors that teenagers like. Not all these adults, these millennials that are, into eating seaweed and twigs and gravel. You want something that actually tastes good. So you say, okay, I'm going to make these things and sell them to teenagers, and then the FDA says, wait a minute. Not only do you have to have a food handler's permit, you have to pass all these other regulations. And, actually one of the biggest ones is where you're manufacturing. In that particular case, you have to prove that you have something similar to a Class 100A clean environment. Obviously, you don't want to ever have to recall your energy bars because they make people sick. And also, if your energy bar claims that it will give you energy, or it claims that it gives you your daily dose of vitamin C, it claims that it will prevent you from getting the coronavirus. If you make those kinds of claims, you're going to go to jail. Actually, they'll just never pass it. You'll never be able to sell it in any retail sense because you can't put any claims on there. and attorneys start getting involved, and that's no fun. So just know your regulations, whether it's the FDA, of course, if you're doing anything that is like a controlled substance, if you're doing firearms, there's just all kinds of regulations. Know those regulations and tell your investors you know it backwards and forwards. All right, that ends this section. Start writing.